Welcome to Babies from Beyond, the podcast that gives all babies a voice, whether they are still in spirit or already earthside. I'm Lauren Dionysius, a former registered NICU nurse turned baby soul communicator, and I'm here to share the wisdom of today's babies to guide you on your motherhood journey. So today I want to talk about the twin energy, and I'm going to be focusing mostly on that twin energy, but know that there is a lot of correlation and similarities with higher order multiples as well. So for example, I have worked with triplets and quads as well, and there's a lot of similarities, but I'm going to focus on the twin energy because that is the most common, and I find that's where the wisdom or the messages are. And for higher order multiples like triplets and quads, it's often more of an amplification or more intense energy that is built beyond that twin energy. So whenever I tune into the twin energy and I feel it, it comes through really strongly and usually really clearly. And the majority of time I connect with baby souls in spirit who are planning to come as twins. They'll come through at the same time. They'll come through together like two peas in a pod. And sometimes if the souls, say there's a feminine soul and a masculine soul, and their energies are different, one can come through first, followed quickly by the other. But what I find happens the most frequently is that they are basically occupying the same part of your energy field or the same base in the ethers. It's really interesting to me, and that's how I tend to identify that twin energy, because it's almost like they are on top of each other. They're occupying the same space. And that I find is a telltale sign, at least from my perspective, that there's a twin energy around you that is considering a journey with you in this lifetime. And there's many reasons for the twin energy as well. It can be something that is planned. It can something, which it usually is. It can be something that's a little bit more opportunistic if the opportunity comes up. I have worked with children with siblings in spirit who are still deciding whether they'll come as twins or whether they'll come close together, as in like a year or two apart. And that for some babies and children, they can still achieve or complete their life's purpose in this way, whereas with other babies it's non-negotiable that they must come as twins in this lifetime to achieve their purpose or to do what they came to do here in the world. Now, it's really interesting when I connect with the energy of twins and these two babies who are planning to come together, they generally are very, very close on the soul level. As in, they have often had many lives before. They've often played different roles in each other's lives as well, and not always friendly ones. Sometimes they can be, rivals or have played very different roles and often quite difficult roles in each other's lives, and have really taught each other valuable lessons on the soul level. And then there's been those souls who have often had unfinished business, like these experiences where perhaps in another life soul, one of them left the earth early, or they didn't quite feel complete in an earlier journey together as souls on the earth. And so they come back in this life determined to fulfill that, to be able to not only complete that life in many ways through living a different life in a different time, in a different situation, but also to intensify those lessons or the growth that was no longer possible in that life, but is now possible in this life. So I find the energy of twins is very purposeful. There's a lot of intensity there. There's a lot of growth there. There's a lot of soul history there. And so in my experience, it is something that is very intentional from the spirit side. And I also feel and have learned doing this work that twins are a lot more common than what the statistics say. It depends on the purpose that these souls have together and their journey together in this life. I work with so many women who think that they themselves had a twin, or, you may have heard the term vanishing twin, where there's some kind of evidence that there was a twin at some point, but that twin has not continued to grow. What I'm learning, and especially at this time with IVF, but also just the energies of the earth right now, the energy required to conceive onto the earth right now is huge. A lot more energy is required to conceive on the earth right now than there ever has been before. Not just the energy of the earth, but also the vibration of the souls who are coming here. And so many of these children, as I said, are far more, I think, than statistics would lead us to believe. They bring a friend, because sometimes the conception of one soul actually requires the presence of two souls to come to the earth. And I have seen that not only in my spiritual work around this, with tuning into souls either preconception and finding out that they're going to bring a friend, but only one is planning to stay. But also clinically, when I was working as a nurse in NICU, we often had, well, not often, but statistically relevant anyway, times where twins would be born most likely prematurely, or have severe twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome, where one received all the nutrients and one received very little or none. And one of those twins would pass away, would not survive very long beyond the birthing process. And of course, it's devastating for the families and also for the staff caring for these babies as well. But when I tuned into these beautiful souls, the wisdom they shared was that we needed two to get one to arrive, because the energy, and this is not any judgment towards the parents and where they may have been at on their journey, it's often about the energy of the earth combined with the frequency of these souls who are coming. But I always found it so beautiful that a soul would put their hand up to be that friend that another soul brings along. And, the surviving twin is obviously always the one that had planned to have the longer life here. But just that this soul, just through pure unconditional love, would decide to, I'll come with you and help you get to earth. It's sort of the analogy that comes to mind is when you take your child for their first day at school and you're literally holding their hand from the car through the school gate up to the classroom, putting their bag away, finding their desk, getting their things out, meeting their new little friends and teachers, and then you leave them there and you turn to leave and you go back out through the path and the gate and back to the car. And to me, that's how the energy feels of these beautiful souls who decide to play that role in another's life, where they come and then they leave again. And neither of these souls are surprised or devastated or feel sad that their twin is no longer with them, or they feel sad that they've returned to spirit. I've worked with, I remember one particular set of twins where when I was working in the nursery, and one of the twins died within a few hours of birth. It was a very small twin, very premature, twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome. She was the donor twin, so she was giving everything away and was not able to receive the nutrients herself. And it was set up that way on purpose so that the twin who was meant to stay here got the nourishment and the growth that she needed. And the twin who was only ever coming for a few hours earthside had the opportunity, and the situation or the circumstances set up in a way that she was able to leave. And when I tuned into both of these beautiful souls, Their experiences were very different and their thoughts were different, but what was similar is that both of them were just so grateful. The twin who was left here on Earth was just so grateful to be able to have a friend basically hold her hand while she went through the gate and into the classroom of Earth, and was able to be here with her for a few hours, making sure she was okay. And then this twin left again. And the twin who passed again was so grateful to have this experience of Earth and to support a fellow, a dear soul from her soul family, to be there with her, to support her, to not only guide her towards Earth, but also to guide her after leaving the Earth. Because when I tuned into this twin, it was several days, could have even been weeks after the loss of the twin. This twin who had passed away was still there. I'd feel her as soon as I walked over to the surviving twin's cot. Like, I would feel her. Sometimes it was like I was running into something because her energy was so strong and so protective. Like, she had set up this little force field around her twin who was here on the Earth. And she told me that I'm here to guide her now. Like, I'm not here. My role was never to guide her on the Earth, but I can guide her much more powerfully and effectively from spirit, from where I am. So it was just such a beautiful experience for me, but also it gave me so much peace that these twins had this incredible experience together and so much respect for each other's journey. And what was the hardest thing for me in that is that I wasn't able to share that information with this mother who was heartbroken, obviously, at the loss of her twin too, but at the same time also the survival of the older twin, the bigger twin one. So, it's really challenging working in that environment, and within my role, I wasn't able to share this information. I would have been sacked from my job if I had started sharing information like that in my scrubs, like in my role as a nurse. So that's a very powerful example of the twin energy, but it's not always about that. But I just wanted to highlight that there's a lot more twin energy around and a lot more twins conceiving than what we think. But yeah, there's other reasons why babies choose to come as twins as well. It can be an extension of the example I just gave, where both twins choose to stay. And it's literally bringing a friend for extra support, not just throughout pregnancy and the birth portal, but also throughout life. We know and science has proven that most twins have a very strong telepathic connection, or ESP if you want to call it that way, but basically this very intuitive connection with each other. And as I also mentioned, many of these souls have traveled together before, either as siblings or friends or some other close soul connection in other lifetimes, and often spend time with each other between lives as well. So there's a very strong connection there. I have to say, I obviously haven't read every single twin, but in my experience, I haven't come across a set of twins where they were unknown to each other on the soul level, where they were strangers. It would just be the word that comes through is alien for them to have that close of an experience and to be in such close quarters for 9 months without knowing each other at least a little bit first. So my experience, there is like this karmic connection there that they often want to work through or deepen this time round on their next journey to Earth. And that's not to say that it's all rainbows and unicorns. We often know that the deeper and closer and more intimate connection is with another human, the more challenges there can be as well, just because of that closeness and that vulnerability. So this idea of bringing a friend, and especially for today's sensitive souls, that is a big shift. It can be very jarring on the energetic level for the physical body, for the nervous system. and for the energy fields. So coming with a buddy can really help to make that transition more manageable and easier. And another reason, just I guess building on that karmic connection around twins, is finishing unfinished business. It can be also a chance to complete something unresolved between two souls, and isn't the only way to do this. A lot of us have unfinished business with other souls that we choose to work with or find some resolution or balance around in life in this way. And we don't always need to come as twins in order to do that. But one way that unfinished business can be resolved or finished is to come through that twin energy, or to use that twin energy to finish that or to resolve that. And some of that unfinished business can be around individuation. So if you haven't heard that before, individuation is that process that generally healthy individuals will go through, usually in the teenage years, but it can start earlier and it can take a lot longer than that, where we grow into our own person, where we learn to have our own identity. We learn to be able to hear our own intuition, to know what we want and what we don't want, to essentially know ourselves and understand ourselves without being influenced or motivated or pressured in any way by society. It's that coming to understand who we are. And so coming as twins, and I find this especially with identical twins, a big part of their journey is around individuation. It's like, what better way to learn how to be your own person and to really get to know yourself as an individual than to be born with someone at the same time who looks exactly like you. You know, it gives them a really unique opportunity and profound journey around that. For identical twins, it often is a process of learning how to be connected, to have that connection, but also to be separate as well, to explore their individuation, to explore their individual self, while also having a very strong and deep soul bond with another. And recently too, I've also noticed this trend or this theme around babies who, like twins who come through, that want to not only practice but also maintain this energetic communication. You know, if you've heard of the Telepathy tapes, it's an amazing podcast if you haven't listened to it yet or you haven't come across it, where it talks a lot more about the telepathic connections and abilities with today's children, especially around those children on the spectrum, and especially with nonverbal or non-talking children as well, and their telepathic abilities. And I find coming through as twins is also a way to keep this connection intact. Because what tends to happen is, again, in my experience, souls in spirit communicate through energy, communicate through the thoughts from the mind, but communicates like energetically, which is telepathic. And I see thoughts as energy anyway. So it's this communication ability that goes beyond words, beyond language, and can be a much more direct and more simple way to communicate. The way I've come to learn around telepathy and these types of communications, the way it comes to me is it often comes to me like a cloud of energy, and it's like all this bundle. It's like something that they drop off, and it's like unwrapping that and finding all the different layers, the different perspectives, the different facets of that energy, which can be visual. It can be in the form of words or thoughts, or it can be visceral as well, and energetic and feelings in the body. And so some twins come with the intention to really keep this skill intact, rather than most of us, we forget shortly after arriving to Earth that this is our natural form of communication, and then we step into connecting or communicating through words, through language. And we lose that ability, that telepathic ability to communicate with others. In this way here on Earth, whereas twins and triplets and quads and any of those higher order multiples are able to continue to keep that skill intact and continue to practice it here on the Earth, even when they're in a somewhat dense physical form or body, which I think is really powerful. And I think it shows a lot about the future of today's children and their ability to communicate. So just to sum up today's episode, just as a little recap, when we look at the energy or the twin energy, that dynamic or that journey to Earth, from a soul perspective, it's not just about a child having a sibling. It's so much deeper than that. It's a shared journey in many ways, but also an individual journey within that. It's a shared entry points, that frequency that can allow them to journey to the Earth with that shared frequency. And I didn't mention this, but it also is important that I've been focusing on the baby's perspective here, but there's also many karmic and soul level reasons for, as a mother or as a parent, allowing twins to come to you, whether you yourself were a twin or you perhaps were the twin who came and left again. You may have been twins in a previous life. You may have a soul connection with one or both of these children that where it's not finished or there's more to learn there. Or maybe you were a twin yourself in various capacities at different times. Maybe there's some kind of twin energy in the family tree that needs some balancing or some healing in some way. So it's not just about these babies either. In my experience, there's always, on the soul level of the mother and the parents, there's always like a mutual opportunity for growth and learning and healing and balancing there as well. So yeah, and also talking about that healing journey, twins coming or higher order multiples coming together can be a very powerful way to help bring healing to a lineage or to help with ancestral trauma, because it amplifies the energy. So it can intensify ancestral trauma in many ways, or it can trigger it strongly, but it also has the potential to break it more quickly and more effectively as well, using their combined energy. So this was a really powerful episode, and this is a question that I often get asked by women around twins and that twin energy. And it's something that absolutely can be around you. And even though we can never guarantee the twin energy, if you are feeling a twin energy around you or feeling the call to conceive twins, I'd love to know if there was something in this episode that resonated with you on that level as to why you may be calling twins into your journey, whether it's familial, ancestral, whether you yourself may have felt a twin at some point, being a part of the healing around not just the soul's journey, but around the ancestral familial patterns in today's world that are coming up for healing. It's happening on a collective level. So on the other hand, if this episode just brought up more questions for you, please let me know. Either send me an email or pop your questions in a review if you would like to do that. I read them all, and when you put your questions there, then that also gives me ideas for future episodes, because I really want to answer your questions here in this space. Thank you for tuning in to Babies from Beyond. If you've enjoyed this episode, I'd love for you to leave me a review just wherever you listen to your podcasts. Also, head over to Instagram and give me a follow at Born Energy, and check out the show notes for more ways that you can connect with your baby's soul, including one-on-one readings and online programs to support you. Until next time, trust your journey and your baby. Take care.